Good evening, everybody. It is such a pleasure to have you at the second edition of the Thando Channel Book Club, celebrating our African storytellers. And you know how I love to start every show with a little bit of a quote from an African. And today I'm breaking the rules. So soon you say, Selina, you're breaking the rules on the second show ever. But you know, you got to know the rules to break them. So a quote I love from Toni Morrison is, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Toni Morrison was an American novelist. She's most well known for her novel, The Bluest Eye, published in 1970. It's been reprinted with several editions. And her critically acclaimed Song of Solomon, also now published in 1977. She's received many awards, including a Pulitzer and her Nobel Prize in Literature in 1993. And she is the incomparable African-American Toni Morrison. She passed away in 2019. And she was well celebrated by many writers of color all over the world. And I love that quote, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. And I wanted to start today's show with that quote because I think the lady we're going to be speaking to today encompasses that quote for me. When I think about her, when I think about her story, and I think about the book we'll be talking about today, I think that for me, this lady is that quote. So I just want to welcome Chiedza to the live today. Hi, Chichi, how are you doing?
Hi, Selina. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm absolutely looking forward to this chat.
That's awesome, Chichi. I just wanted to find out, how are you dealing with the weather these days? You and I are both in Harare, and we've had some rare few weeks of blue sky and sunshine. And I've noticed that the last 2 days has been a bit chilly in the mornings. How's that been for you?
Very confusing in terms of what to wear in the morning. I was coming back home this evening and it's suddenly raining. It hasn't rained in weeks. So I was just like, what's going on now? But it's confusing, but you know what? You just have to just go with the flow these days. You don't actually know what to expect.
Yeah, I feel like the weather and COVID-19 had a meeting and they were like, you know what? Like, it's our show now. And like, we're not going to try and make sense. And the rest of us on the planet are like, please, I just need a win. I just need something like to follow a straight path. Yeah, definitely. So Chichi, what are you looking forward to in 2021?
Wow, just adjusting to what we're calling the new normal, or rather the normal, because it was new, but now it's normal. So just adjusting to this normal and thriving, you know, with it, not just surviving, but just thriving with it. And one of the things is doing this digitally. I think that's us thriving, right?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Like, I have done more digital events in the last month and a half than I've done like in 3 years combined. So it definitely is a change at a breakneck speed. Definitely, I agree with you. So today we have the incredible Chiedza Makwara. If you follow me, every time I mention her, I always preface it with the term incredible. She's incredible to me. And I believe she'll be incredible to you after you hear her story and you hear the story of her book, Bongile, Journey to Redemption. Chiedza Makwara is a woman of many talents, an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, broadcaster, author, scriptwriter, award-winning scriptwriter, and producer. She is a forward thinker in business, very avant-garde. And she recently, I want to say recently, but knowing the backstory, she wrote this amazing, phenomenal book, Bongile, Journey to Redemption, and released it in 2017, but it had been 7 years in the making. And it was a bestseller soon after it was launched, which says something about cooking the books for a long time, slow cooking the books for a long time. The book was adapted into a musical theater production, which she scripted and executively produced and sold out 5 nights in November 2019, hey? 5 months just before all of the pandemic lockdown happened. So how fortuitous is that? The play won 2 Namas in February 2020, making it one of the greatest theatrical productions to ever come out of Zimbabwe. She writes about real life, real people, and real issues with the aim to inspire and change lives. She has written for articles for international magazines like International Women, and Chiedza is no stranger to the broadcast world. She hosts her amazing show on Heart and Soul, Off the Menu, and which is a lifestyle show that focuses on book reviews, arts, and events. So welcome, Chiedza. Thank you for being on this show where we are reviewing your book and turning the tables on you. I hope it will be a good time for all involved.
I'm sure it will. Thank you.
No problem. So, Chiedza, my first question to you is, why 7 years? Why did the book take 7 years to come to being?
Well, okay, great question. And I have been asked this so many times, and my answer has changed so many times, but I think that this is the right one now. I feel when I was younger, I didn't have the maturity to carry this sort of book that I wrote. And I understand this why, and I'm understanding why it took so long, for it to come out. In 2017, I was 30, I think, 30 or 31. So I think it's the maturity. Had I launched a book like this when I wrote it in my 20s, I don't think I would have been able to carry the kind of weight and conversations to the full capacity that I want to then. So that was a very big contributing factor, the maturity. Another thing was the simple answer of not knowing what to do after you write a book, and so those 7 years was, there was research, there was going around, and there was also quiet when nothing was happening. And what then happened is I had sent it to South Africa to a girl I knew who worked in broadcasting, a girl at the time, those 7 years prior, before 2017. And she hadn't read it, and she finally read it in 2016, or is it early 2017? And she's like, it's amazing. We want to make it a show. It forced me to publish. And I realized, okay, I'd always known it's a good book. I realized, okay, this is now the time. I need to publish this book. It's the time to start having this conversation.
Very interesting that you say that about the matters being weighty and requiring a certain level of maturity within you as the narrator, the writer, to kind of be able to carry the conversation. Very, very powerful. And I say that because Bongile, I have the book with me here. Got my little cues for some of the parts that I dig into. Yes, is actually, it's a slim book. I mean, if you look it up on Amazon, it's 70 pages, but it is no mean a size in terms of the matters that it raises and the story that it tells. So I know that in conversation with a good friend about the book about 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, it's a heavy book. Like it's heavy, and I think that's one of the things that makes it a good book, right? It's not about the number of pages or the size. It's actually about the content and the substance within. It's about the weight of the story, right? And so that I found very, very, I found that very unique, because it's not often you find a book that's slim and then you go through this intense sort of like, wow, I need to think about this. But I know that the writing of the story was also quite intense for you. Can you tell us a bit about how you wrote it, and kind of like what was the beginning, middle, end process of birthing this story to life?
Okay, so the book is based on a true story, or inspired by. Most of it is, just a little bit of it is fictionalized. So it's a story that I heard from somebody that I know, and I just thought the story was heartbreaking, the story of their life. I was shocked, and I was broken. And that evening, immediately, I'm going to bed, I remember writing an email to someone and saying, this is something I need to write down. The story is very overwhelming. It's a story that needs to be told. And I actually have that email, and I just kind of printed it for now to just remember this is what I did. And it didn't take me long to write the book. Actually, it actually took me, wow, it's a while ago. I can't give the exact time, but I'd say maybe from weeks to, I'll give a timeline from maybe 6 weeks to about 2 months to write it, because I was just pouring out, but I felt like I was having this out-body experience. I was almost in her body. I felt her pain. I'd cry. I'd actually wail. And this is a 3-year-old, 22-year-old wailing and feeling these matters as if they had happened to me. So that writing was very intense. That period was, I feel like I almost went through sort of a depression, sort of, because again, feel her and feel her pain as I was penning it down and writing it in my words, because I wrote it going back. She's sitting in the bus and she's thinking. So I wrote like she's reminiscing about what happened. And that's even worse for me, because I'm not writing the future. There's nothing positive. It's literally just looking back at your life and realizing, oh, this is all these dramatic things are happening to me. So the process was very intense, but it was fast. So I feel like there's so much that needed to be said, and I'm glad it was fast, because then I captured every moment and every feeling, every emotion that she had told me since I started writing it, literally, the day she told me the story.
And it's interesting that you say that it's a true story, because true stories are, I lean towards nonfiction, and writing stories about ourselves. I think that there's so much richness in that, and creativity in that. And this is a story that you heard that was real life. It's powerfully told in terms of the literary creative scope. Like, you didn't just give us facts. Like, you what you went through, you managed to draw us into the story. Did you have any conflict within yourself about what the story was becoming through your telling versus the story that you heard that the person lived? Was there like a little bit of a tension? Like, how did you navigate that? Because also you speak about the writing process being so fast and so intense.
The conflict came afterwards, not when I was writing it. I go back to the point where I said when I was writing it, all I wanted to do was write the story. I felt like it needed to be told. And then I didn't publish it because I told you all this contributing factors about being young and I wasn't mature. So when I then published it and the book was out, my conflict was the story is portraying, of course I had the permission, it seems like it's really portraying this person in a negative light. Did I put all of it? Did I represent her how she would want to be represented? Is she too much? Is she too much of a drama, queen? Is she too negative, that she has too much negative energy? So that conflict came. She might have said yes, but is she happy with what I wrote? Is she happy with it? Does she feel good about herself? Do I feel good about watching the whole world unravel her and her mistakes and her pain? So that conflict happened, for a while, and I struggled with it, especially with the success of the book launch and everyone asking questions and everyone like, okay, who is he? Like, I identify with her, but oh my God, and she did this and she went back to this guy and she did. So all of that just, it broke me also. And it just a lot of questions. Did I make the right decision? She might have said yes, but did I make the right decision? So that conflict was definitely there. It gets easier now because of the impact the book has had, and she herself has seen the impact, and she's this iconic anonymous Bongile that everybody talks about. We're like, are you Bongile? People ask me that all the time. So I think with the success of it, the conflict was less because then I could just see the impact. But definitely, just the initial stages, I really felt that conflict, Selina.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's there. I think it's there for anyone who chooses to write stories about real life. Wanting to be as accurate as possible to the events as they were, and not make something else out of them. But also honoring the message that the story, those events is portraying is very, very, it's challenging. But I think things that are challenging are worth the pursuit. I think that you always come out with something powerful, and definitely my reading of the book really made me feel like that was a really powerful story. Because, like you say, Bongile is not a character that you can easily sympathize with, but she is very relatable, very, very relatable. I think for me as a young woman, may not have gone through everything she's gone through, but there were moments that you captured so beautifully that were just very transparent, and in a way then became very universal. So the moment in the book where she reunites with Jeffrey, the man she loves, right, and how she just seems to, her body and her everything, just like she's going in one direction and then she just seems to find herself,
and all sense is gone.
Yeah, like it's like an automatic thing. And you, as a reader, I was reading it going, no, don't do that. And then I was like, yeah, girl, but I know when it's just that person. So there was something very, I think, universally human about Bongile's flaws, in a way that I think made her relatable, and in a way that kind of put my guard down and drew me in to stop judging her, to stop being the observer, othering her, and realizing that, whoa, actually, she's just going through the same sort of very human, like, emotions and big rites of passage that we all do, So, like, I found that your ability to do that quite profound, and really quite skilled. And I think one of the things, for me, that then I think undergirded that was that you committed to Bongile. You were like, right, this is her story. We're just going to tell it like it is, and it's going to be about her. And you did it from beginning to end. And Bongile herself is very unaware of herself. Through many stories, we should be more aware of herself. But I think this is something that disarms us as well and endears her to us in a way. But you were granular. You were like, right, there's one story we're going to tell, and it's going to be about this girl. Take it or leave it, like it or don't like it. It's her, and I think that really, really was quite powerfully done.
I love that you said that. I just wanted to add with what you're talking about when you said, that part where she does go back to the men she loves or whatever. That in real life, it didn't even happen like that. But I imagined how you go back to that man that you love. Like, you just see him, it's been years, you see him standing there and he's perfect to you, just the way he was perfect to you. Because remember, Bongile is every woman's story, really. It's how we might not have gone through all the things, but we can sort of attest to one or two, or empathize at least, So you see this man, and you're weak, and all common sense loses your body and your mind. So I just wanted people to relate. These everyday things. It's like you're with somebody, he's beating you every day. You totally have said, I'm done with it. I'm not going back. I'm over this man or woman. And you see them, and there you go. It's over for that moment. So I really want to think out.
Yeah, like the same weakness we all have and the same challenge we all need to overcome. And true, in that way, made it every woman's story. So another thing that I found quite fascinating is that you know, after the 7 year period and for different reasons, and then now's the time to birth the story and to kind of make it now public and, you know, allow the baby to, you know, be born and to lead a life of its own with other people. What was that process like? Because you went the self-publishing route, and what was that process like? What was it like for you? How did you go about it? And I think for a lot of budding writers who will be watching this now and later, when how do you feel about how the process went now 3 years later? What would you do differently? And what would you say? Yeah, we nailed that. We cracked that the first time round.
Okay, the first thing I'd do differently is definitely research more. You know, if you want to be an author, if you want to be a writer, just, you know, do the groundwork, research who are the publishing companies, who's publishing this and that. So when I tried to publish this book prior, you know, to the 7 years before I self-published, the first time I actually wrote it and finished, and I took it, and it was actually rejected by two of the big publishing companies, and they were still standing back then. I don't know if they're still on. One is a publishing company. The other one is sort of like I could call it an NGO that takes books and publishes them. And honestly, I still have those emails, and it was just breaking for me because I think I got an email and I was told, you know, it's too cliche. In those words. And that broke me. Imagine you're 20 something and you're hearing that, but you know that your product is so good, but you don't have anywhere to go. And everybody else who had read it, you know, is telling you, this is great, Chichi, like we've never read something like this. This is amazing. But you're being told by professionals it's not good enough, and they're not even giving you space to teach you or to learn to say, look, you could change this and that. You just get an email, which is maybe 5 lines, and they say, no, it's cliche, the story of HIV and AIDS and all of this is okay. So that broke me. And for a season, there was just quiet. You know, if I didn't have the support system around me and the people who had read the book, I gave it to all my best friends and everybody, you know, who said, you know what about that thing? What about that book? I promise you, you know, it would have been dead. Then if that other girl, lady, you know, hadn't called me from South Africa to say, hey, you know, remember that book that you sent me 7 years ago? I don't know if anything would have happened, Selina. So I think it's a lot of things that came into play here, just the encouragement and the support system and a stroke of luck, I guess. I don't know. Just coming together, all things work together, right? So I think that was part of the process. Then the 7 years later, the self-publishing, there's a lot of things that I would do very differently. I go back to research. The first person who claimed to be an editor, I went to them and they said that helped me, whatever, self-published, and they just gave me such a raw deal. And I say that not to, you know, bring out the negativity side of things, but to actually just emphasize on how you must research who you're working with. You know, there's so many people claiming this and that. And, you know, I paid a lot of money for it, and which wasn't fair, but, you know, I'll just blame myself because I didn't do the research. You know, I didn't actually know what a publisher was. I've been writing. And for somebody who had been writing ever since I was a kid, because Bongile was not my first book, it's my only published book, but it's not my first book. So I should have done the research. I should have known. And with all those years, I should have known, you go to these companies, you go to these people, these are the writers who've made it. But I went straight to the wrong place and I got a road deal, and that put me back behind. So I then realized, okay, you know what? You need to take a step back and actually do your research. And I found a lady called Cynthia Chirinda, and she had produced so many books. And she's someone that I knew, but not very well. So I approached her, we sat down, and you know what? She was just my lifesaver in this scenario, you know. So go to the people who've done it before and who've done it excellently and who have actually you know, excelled in these areas and fields. She came up with the advice. We did the self-publishing together. She taught me how to do it, from teaching me what an ISBN is to help me upload it on Amazon and getting my ISBN number and all of that. So I'm really thankful for just having somebody who, I'll just say, who mentored me in that area. At the time. So the research is very, very important, knowing who's done it before. And now that I've done it before, you know, a lot of people come to me as well, and I also give them the advice. The publishing company route, I don't know, Selina, because I wasn't successful in it. I'd say if you can self-publish, you own everything, you know. I would actually encourage people to do that. But if you want to go to the publishing companies, I do know some now. It's so funny because in my other work, I am dealing with people who are producing books and exporting and all of that. So yeah, so that's my story. I don't know if you answered the whole question. If I missed anything, just let me know.
No, that is powerful, because I mean, I think you captured what it's like for a writer self-publishing, because you're not just birthing the book, you're birthing the publisher in you if you choose to self-publish. And I thought it was so key that you highlighted, self-publishing is about owning the rights to your story. I think a lot of people don't realize that when they go the trade publishing route, they're sharing that rights with someone else, sharing that authority around their creative direction with someone else. And they only find out later down the line. So I wouldn't knock yourself so hard on doing the research. I think we've just been taught as writers that all we need to do is write, but the world is changing. And I think when self-publishing became digitally driven and more accessible to more people, it also opened up doors to writers to become entrepreneurs in a sense, and to become business people. And I think for women who choose to self-publish, that's one of the most empowering things. Own own the rights to your work. Ensure that you are getting the sales yourself and not being shortchanged. And own your voice, and take the authority. And that doesn't mean, trying to do things that you have no competency in. But I think the difference between self-publishing and publishing is the self-publisher becomes the CEO of their own book, and they're making their book an enterprise, which just empowers them to be on a better footing or an equal footing with your editors and your proofers and all of these skilled technicians who are specialized, who come and do specialized work for you. And I think it's more empowering, because if you come to the table like that, you are less likely to be shortchanged. So I think, that you answered the question very powerfully, actually, and inspiringly so. One of the things I love about the book in terms of how you then self-published it is I love the artwork on this cover. I posted a link to the I posted a picture of the cover on the Thando channel yesterday. So those of you watching, if you want to just get a better look, because this is not giving justice, but I love this this artwork. It's so clean, yet the image of the woman, the silhouette and the flames and the way she's holding herself is very emotively done. I love this typeface, which is so intricate and so individual and original. And what I love that I think that people should know about is every chapter page has an image. It's got this amazing image, this image. And I don't see too many books that are done like that. So it also shows your care and the attention that went into it. And I think sometimes when you go with a trade publisher, you get a lot of people telling you that this is the way it's done, and they won't take certain risks with you, or they won't treat your baby the way that you know it deserves to be treated. Yeah, definitely. So how do you come up with artwork?
Okay, yes. Can I start somewhere and get into the artwork? I want to say when it came to, okay, let's just talk about the artwork first, then I'll tie in with the other thing. So I wanted how I wanted the cover to depict how she's feeling inside. She's burning. She's crazy a little bit. So she's burning. So there's fire coming, out of her mind. And I remember saying it to the designer, another Zimbabwean guy, and he wasn't even in the country. We did the whole digital thing. He was in Zambia at the time. Say, I want him. I remember saying that she's burning. She's got a burning desire to be loved, but she's burning, like she's burning out of fury. So I wanted that to show, and I wanted it to be a silhouette of a woman, and I also wanted it to show that she's a Black African woman, not to maybe eradicate the other audience, maybe Caucasian and whoever else, but it was an African story, and it was a Zimbabwean, story, and I wanted that to even show in the cover as well. Even the name, I wanted the name. That's the other thing I wanted to say is, of course, I wanted my book to be international. Everybody wants their book to be international, but it had to be, the main title had to come back to home. To say she's from Africa, she's from Zimbabwe, therefore her name is Bongile. And one of the things that I then learned that I can capture the rest of my audience is to write the subtitle, which is Journey to Redemption. So Bongile can be, our unique African names, but just the subtitle is English, and that will pull, the rest of the crowd and the rest of the people that, wouldn't know what Bongile means. So Journey to Redemption does talk about what the book is about. So it's her journey to redemption, a life journey, but she's literally sitting in a bus. So it's literally a journey, and she's thinking. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say in the cover.
Yes. Yeah. The journey though, that you picking that up though, that you said that, like, first time I read the book, I was like, the journey, like, is it like a pun? Is it literal? Like, there's definitely like a bigger journey to redemption that's happening. But the narration in terms of world building rules is that it's she's on a bus journey, and then she's like going through a journey through the past, but that journey in the past is also propelling her in her current journey to this decision that she's making. I was like, there are multiple journeys on this bus journey, this bus ride. And I was like, was that kind of your intention?
That was 100% my intention. Sorry, everything that you said, 100%. She had to be on this journey, because when you're on a journey, Selina, that's when you think, especially when you're alone. You're sitting on a plane, on a bus, in a train. Your mind wanders. It wanders to your past. All those conversations, they pop up. You deal with a lot of stuff, a lot of internal stuff when you're sitting on a journey, more than you deal with stuff when you're sitting alone at work or whatever at home. That journey, I don't know what it is about moving that takes you back. So I wanted that pun to come out, then the journey of life. It is a journey of a life, because the book has a bigger picture than just that journey she's taking and the thinking. There's more things to come, and there's where she's coming from as well. So 100% yes.
And also the journeys within the memories, because I have to go back to the incident that I referred to earlier, where she meets the love of her life the second time, and she's like, this is the man that I love. And you so clearly captured the crossroads moment. So you were quite granular about the moment before, and then you took us to the moment where she chose a certain path on her road. And I found that very powerful, because, I don't think we often realize how our choices and our directions propel us forward or off the rails or wherever. And I think Bongile definitely has moments in her story where she's always like, it could be one way or another. And then she's like, no, I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to be led with this. And it can be unsympathetic sometimes, depending, I think, on the mood that the reader is, but always, it is very human, very, very human and relatable. I don't think, if people are being honest with themselves, I don't think that anyone can be like, well, no, I can't relate to that. That's never happened to me. You know what I mean? So
you said something interesting. You said the love of her life. Is it really the love of her life, or is that part of her journey? She thinks it's the love of her life, or that's the only love she had known in her very life journey. She's a very young person, remember? So I like that you brought that on, because that's just a bigger discussion to have. Is it really the love of her life? Is it?
I know, because every time I say it, every time I've said it tonight, you've been like, well, you know, I mean, that's subjective. Like, that's like your posture is very...
I love it. I love it, Selina, because then it just brings how people then, you know, see it differently, or perceive it differently, because you're like, okay, this is the love of her life because she went back, or she keeps going back. We always have that one person we go back. I'm like, oh, that's all she's ever known. Well, that's the only person who accepted her. Or I'm like, in her mind, she thinks she's not good enough. So everybody has a different take to it. And I just love that. I actually love that you brought that up.
But I think that's a good segue for us to talk about. So, you know, the book has been a bestseller. You know, and then you turned it into a play, and then that won awards. Was that what you imagined the impact of the book would be, or were you at times sort of like taken aback, kind of like, whoa, you know, the train is now driving itself, and now I'm a passenger? Like, what's, you know, was the success what you imagined?
It is. I knew even when nothing was happening. I knew when I read the book, and I told you, I gave my friends and everybody. I knew, and I always knew what I wanted it to be. I knew I wanted it to be a theater production, and I knew I wanted it, and I still wanted to be a movie, film series, whatever. I still wanted on big screen, small screen, everything. But in terms of the theater production, you know, I went back again and started asking and researching more. And, you know, I went around for a while. I was like, can this book become a theater production? I was told no. So when you tell me no, I say yes. You know, so I wanted it to be a theater. I actually asked, I said, can it be a musical? And I was told by, again, you know, other writers that no, this book, the way it's written, you know, people who are more experienced in the field, the way it's written, it can never be a play. But that challenged me because I knew I'd seen it in my head, and I knew the book had to make. It was all planned out in my head. Okay, from it actually happened in reverse, because I thought, okay, from book to film, then to theater, but obviously from book to theater now, then the next thing would be film. And that also goes to say a point that you brought on to say, you know what, sometimes you don't have to do things the way they've always been done. You were talking about publishing, that there's a way to do it, and I do it a different way, working with the lady who helped me, Cynthia. And that's the same thing, you know, do it, you know, just go against the grain. I think if you know, you've seen it in your head, if you've seen it, if you've got a heart for it, you don't have to do things the way things have always been done. Sometimes people love the authenticity of your voice and what you are saying, and how you're writing it and how you're telling a story. It doesn't have to be that everybody, you know, or the greatest people wrote, you know, things in a certain way. Times are changing. Stories are being told in so many different ways. So So I love that it was successful. I knew it would be. I didn't think that successful. I never imagined I would win an AMA, you know, but look at where I am now.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely worth it. I mean, I have to say, working sort of behind the scenes in the publishing industry, what I do value about your story and about your success is that you are, it is the confident humility, right? You are clear about where your specialist skills lie, but and you are clear that okay, I'm going against the grain. But I think sometimes when people do that, they can be a little bit foolish. But I see a lot of wisdom in the choices you made. You sought out insights from people who had gone before you. Definitely, I think being mentored by Cynthia, which is something you even talked quite a lot about at your book launch. Is also I think a wise principle. With which you kind of balance that. Okay, I know that this is good, but I know that I need to go beyond what I know.
The word I was looking for that
life.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, I find that very powerful because so often people can be stubborn and they can be like, I know it's great and it's going to be amazing. And then you're like, okay, but do you know what it's going to take to make it amazing? And I think in your story, they're just patterns of you understanding that it's going to take more than what you have and seeking that out. And then I think as a person, if we think about all of the things that you're interested in and all of the things that you do, you're definitely a person with a strong work ethic and a strong passion for excellence. So, I think it will happen. It will definitely work out then. So thank you very much for sharing that. And those of you who catch up with us on this live, whether you're watching now or you catch up with us later tonight or tomorrow morning, definitely pin that for yourselves, especially if you're thinking about publishing a book. I think what Chiedza teaches us is that it can be done. There will be work involved, but if you find the right help and do your research, hey, you could be the next person winning a NAMA award, and we'll be interviewing you here on the book club. So well done, Chiedza. Congratulations for that. And that is really amazing. So a burning question I've always had, when we talk bestseller in the US, it's done by a number of sales over a period of time in certain bookstores. And those numbers have different thresholds in different categories. So a science book is a bestseller if you manage to sell X number of copies within a week. Whereas for you to be bestseller in a novel or a romantic novel category, you have to sell even way more, and, in e-publishing on this. So when we say Bongile is a bestseller, especially in a context like ours where we don't measure the book sales, we don't have big publishers operating locally in Zimbabwe. How do we qualify that metric?
Okay, good. There's two angles to look at it. For me, I became an Amazon bestseller. So if you sell a number of books, they kind of title you and they put an orange flag on your page. And I ran with it. I ran with it. And it's great because then it increases, your sales, and it's just a great marketing tool. But for me, I realized, and this is the honest truth, I realized that for them, it's not even about the number of books you're selling. I don't know how they pick and choose, but and for them to even just say that to you, I think that's a great way to just publish and marketing your marketing. So they gave me that orange flag tag. I don't know if they still flag that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to run with this. This is okay. But I think that the book then became a bestseller. I've sold there's a point where I said 3,000, right? But I think it's been way more than that now. And I think I need to go back, to my book sales, because there's a point when somebody was doing it for me. Then I'm back now to just whoever wants a copy. I need to go. And these are physical copies. Then when we talk about Amazon, my book has been bought in Australia, in America, in England. Those are the Australia, America, and England. Those are the most sales. A few in South Africa. And it hasn't sold, to be honest, more than 250 copies. But that's a lot on Amazon. It's really, really hard, to sell a book on Amazon. So I feel like when you get to 20 copies, they're like, okay, this is a good seller. So it's a bestseller. And they put you up there. But take it, run with it. it means you're actually
I don't think, as an insider in the industry, those numbers are really, really good. And it's definitely more than 20 copies for them to give you the orange flag and say that you're a bestseller. But what I love about it is that it is possible. And coming from a place where traditional publishers were saying, no, it's not good, or it's cliche, and then actually having, I think, a more objective and more realistic sort of evaluation, because I mean, there's people selling and reading, and what you say is true. A lot of people publish on Amazon and never sell anything for the entire shelf life of their books. So even to sell one copy is really tough. But I mean, to get into the hundreds and for it to be a consistent seller, truly is a bestseller. So well done to you, and thank you very much for flying the flag high for African women writers. Because bookseller in the world, it's got 70% of book buyers in the whole world. So that's really powerful and really, really amazing. But it also makes me think about when we send our books to traditional publishers and a reader reads them, and then this person is giving us an opinion about their book, just to remember that it is just that, it's an opinion, and you got to be balanced in terms of how you take that on, but it's just an opinion.
It's just an opinion, yes. But there's another site called Goodreads, and they also rate the book, and I got really great ratings. I don't know how my book ended up on this Goodreads, but I have so many reviews on it. So I don't know if it's linked to Amazon or what, I don't know. But I think that's also a contributing factor to think like that. So it goes back to my thing of, just do your research, just know where your book's at and what's happening. And when you're self-publishing, it's easier for you to track. It's easy for you to know, the numbers. Every time there's a sale, and every month as well, Amazon sends you an email with, the number of sales and what. And I'm sorry, Selina, I just wanted to go back on the part of self-publishing and distribution, and to say you have to be aware that places like Amazon take a really big chunk of your money. So with Amazon, for me, it's not about the money, really. It's not about the book sales, because like I told you, it's been 250 copies less, right? But just the name has grown there. And even by 250 and just have it there, it's just good for, it's just good for publicity. The money, I think I make $3 a copy, it should be 20%. So it's not a lot, but it's great for just getting the reviews. It's just great for the publicity. So that's important, but maybe not the best for money. Just, printing and they print. So they're taking the big chunk of the money because they're printing. I forgot to take I've got it. No, it's not the one. I forgot to take the Amazon print to show you how the Amazon print looks like, how the Zimbabwean print looks like, to just show you the difference and why you're getting $3 instead of your whole $10 if your book is $10, because they're printing it for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's. I think a lot of people would be curious to know the ins and outs, and I think definitely, Chiedza, what is becoming clear to me is that you've got to come back on the book club, maybe in a month or so, and we can do a masterclass on. Definitely. I think a lot of people don't know that, but I think it's time for writers to arm themselves with this kind of knowledge and take their power back, because if you don't know what's going on with the sales of your book, then what are you doing? It's great that the book has impact, but we must also, you need the finances to at least be able to do the next print run, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me the difference between writing a play and writing a book. What was that journey like? Because it took you 7 years to do the book. And then 2017, the book comes out. 2019, it's already on stage.
So I scripted the book in 6 weeks. In 6 weeks. And I was not in the country, and we already had a cast. So I scripted it according to the cast. You know, I decided 3 people will play Bongile. We wanted a Shona girl, a Ndebele girl, and a white girl, because those are the 3 predominant, I guess, tribes. If I may put it in that.
Cultures. Yeah.
The culture. So I scripted according to the cultures, because I wanted the book as a play for everybody to be able to recognize themselves as Bongile. It's very hard for a person, and I'm not saying that they're immune to some of the things that happen to all of us as women, but I just think that the scope is more different. So it's much harder for a white person to be in the shoes of, you know, a Black Bongile and to get that full description, but I wanted them to know, you know, and I wanted our other community, which is obviously the white community, to know and understand and feel, you know, what we feel and what we may go through, which I believe in. You know, this is, you know, subjective or whatever. They feel it to a lesser extent. So I wanted that. So scripting it was according to the different characters. It was really fast, but it was easier because I already had the background of who Bongile was from the book. So the book, a lot of it just came from the book. Some of it was literally just copy and paste. What I needed to do then was cut it shorter. Does it work in a play where it's a long, you know, love scene between Jeffrey and Bongile? It literally had to be 1 minute. And for the play, it was a song. It was a musical. So it was a love song. And 2 people dancing quite erotically on stage, but that was it. So, you know, it's not a lot of writing. It's just a lot of imagining what it should be like. You know?
Yeah, so that's powerful.
If you know, I don't know if you did watch the play, no. But okay, I will send it to you. And if anyone wants to watch, maybe we could talk about you guys, you know, sharing a few clips on the Thando channel. But I wanted to say a lot of it was in music and in the dancing. Very few words were spoken. And I said the only voice. Of course, so many people played Bongile. 3 people played Bongile, and as the singers, and 15 people played Bongile as the dancers. But I wanted to say the only voice was Bongile's voice. So only one person spoke the whole play, because it's about Bongile. So we wanted the voice of Bongile. So that then made the writing quite easier, because just writing what Bongile is thinking and just copying. So just having, if you want to turn a book into a play or in a movie, so easy, because you're literally just, you have the foundation. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
definitely. And also the advantage if the writer is doing it, because a lot of see adaptations of our favorite books as movies, and often they'll get a screenwriter to do the adaptation, and then we're like, that's not what I read. That's not true to the story. And then fans of the book get like really kind of, you know, disappointed, and understandably so, right? Because you know, when you invest in reading a book, it takes up space in your mind and in your psyche, and you know, you invest time in it, and that's time you're never going to get back. So you kind of feel like this bond where you're like, no, but it's got to be the way that I remember. And I think we tend to have a closer affinity to the original writer's imagination than somebody else's interpretation of that when they then make it into a book. So it's into a play or into a film. So I think that it's quite interesting that you did that journey, but also just how it opened up a whole other side of your artistic nature as well. You know, because a lot of writers are sometimes like, I don't care what the pictures look like. I don't want to know about all of those things. I've done the writing, you know, I've written, I've been who I'm supposed to be, you know, but that you were able to take the words and make imagery and movement, I think, out of it is amazing.
Sure. I didn't want anyone to write anything about my book, Selina. I was very clear. I was very, very jealous, and I guarded so jealously. I got a director for the play because obviously I have to get a director. I've never directed anything in my life. I didn't know how to direct, and there were a lot of fights, and no love lost. It was just professionalism because obviously she has a way that she had seen it and she wants to say. I said no, I want it this way. Because I don't want my story changed, and I don't want to say somebody else wrote or we co-wrote the screenplay and what I wanted it to stay true to the story of Bongile. So you also have to protect your rights. A lot of people come and wave, ideas and things to you, and they might all sound shiny and great, but it's always good to go back to the basics of what the original book says and what the original story, as you as the artist say. I like what you said about the great books that we love. I'm an avid reader. Like, I read so much, and I also watch a lot of movies, and I also watch all these books that became movies and all these things that became TV shows. I watch, and I'm always disappointed because I feel like the story doesn't have the totality, and they should have left it alone, or they shouldn't have given it to another screenwriter. The original book people need to maybe write the screenplays or the scripts. But I also want to add one important point, that you need to keep evolving as a person, right? And as an artist. You're talking about how my artistic nature was there. I don't want to just be Chiedza the writer. If I can write a book, I can obviously write a script or a screenplay, and I can produce, and we can do that. But I think that the industry has taught us that you can't. You're one thing, but you're not. You can write, I can even write a song. So I think also evolve, and so that you keep taking ownership, of these things. If you can't write the full thing, write half of the thing or a little bit of the thing, but make sure that your voice is absolutely heard, and don't give away rights to your book. And finally, I go back to the part where in South Africa, when they asked me, they wanted to take the book and put it on. This is before I published, and put it in a series, movie, or whatever they were trying to do. They wanted me to relinquish ownership, number one. Or they want, and another thing that they also put to me was you could co-produce it, and that meant that I had to put out my own money, which I didn't have at the time. Had I had that conversation when I was 23 or 22, I would have been like, yay, and given it away, and, it would have worked. But it goes back to that conversation of maturity. It wasn't time. So it was just a stroke of luck that I'm in my 30s. I know I'm in business. I know that this is not going to work. This story is going to be, and I'm not even going to, it's not even just about the money, even just the legacy of the book that's just going to go. So those are some of the things that, you need to also protect, and don't make decisions too quickly. If you can produce a book and you feel like it's a good product, hold on to it. The time will come and the resources will come for you to actually produce it, and it can be 100% yours.
Definitely 100%. 100%. I couldn't have said that better. And I think that really it's important for all writers to begin to kind of wise up to the enterprise side of their book writing and book publishing process. Whether or not you choose to self-publish or trade publish, you should at least know how much of your work you own, and you should be able to quantify that in dollars and cents, and all of those kinds of things, because it's about ownership, and it's about personal responsibility as well. Chiedza, we are coming sort of close to the end of our interview, and you and I know that we could have gone for at least another hour. Like we could have really taken this all the way, and I'm sure that we'll get you back on here to talk more about some of the wider issues in the industry. And for women writers. But before we close out tonight, I'd really like to give you a chance to read an excerpt from your book. One of the things that we love to do here is start with a quote and end with a reading. So I'd really love for you to do that for us in about 2 seconds. For anyone who's watching, I just want you to know you can get a copy of Bongile Journey to Redemption. If you just follow at Chiedza Makwara on Facebook, you can DM her and get a print copy. That is, if you're local, they'll definitely deliver it to you. She runs and owns a logistics company, people. So she'll definitely make sure you get it. And then for those of you that are not local, her book is on Amazon Kindle and paperback. And so you can just type into the search bar on Amazon, Bongile Journey to Redemption by Chiedza Makwara. The book will come up and you can purchase it in the format that you want, print on demand or soft copy, and do it for yourself. It's going to be a good read, a heavy read. Don't think that just because it's 70 pages and it's a slim book that this is just going to be some light canapes on a summery day. This is going to be some real serious things. And like we said at the beginning, the weather is changing, so this could be the right time to actually get stuck into a story like Bongile Journey to Redemption. So as we close out tonight, let's have Chiedza read us an excerpt from her book to sign off today's book club meeting. Over to you.
Right. So this is my favorite part of the book because I think it's kind of just the story beginning and unraveling. I've been sitting in this bus for the past 4 hours with my newly born son, or is it more correct to say my newly dead son? He's both newborn and dead. Yes, the baby I'm holding, my baby, is just an empty shell. I might as well be holding a plastic, lifeless doll. I don't know how long he has been dead for. I didn't even feel him slipping away from me. Or maybe I did, and I was too caught up in my own thoughts to care. I'm sitting in the bus with close to 60 people, and none of them have realized I am holding a corpse. Should I scream? Is it too late for that? Is it too late for shock and horror? Should I wail? Is it too late to mourn the death of something you love, or at least something you wanted to love? Should I stop the bus and tell someone? What should I do? Nothing. Yes, maybe I'll do nothing. I'll do nothing but wait. I'm waiting for forgiveness.
Well done. Thank you so much. Very, very powerful. Now you got us all in our feels late on a Wednesday night, midweek in March. Now we're all feeling the feelings and we're thinking about the things, Chichi. You got to say, this is where we are. And, there's nothing else we can do.
I feel like that's very dramatic. Somebody holding a corpse in the bus.
Very, very dramatic, especially newly born son, or should I say newly dead son. Many, many turns of phrase like that, and beautiful contrasts and comparisons in the book. So it's definitely going to be a delight for anyone who chooses to start their journey with Bongile Journey to Redemption. Chiedza, it has been amazing having you on the book club. I think we could not have started with a better author guest than you. Amazing story, amazing work that you're doing. And we're looking forward to spending time with you again in the near future, maybe probably for a masterclass. So thanks very much for joining us. And thanks to all our viewers for watching. No matter what time you watch, please put your comments in the comment box. Please also tag Chiedza if you have a question for her, if you have something that you wanted to know. And remember that you can get her book, Bongile Journey to Redemption, if you just DM her on her Facebook page at Chiedza Makwara, or you can order the book for yourself on Amazon. Type in the search bar, Bongile Journey to Redemption by Chiedza Makwara, and it'll come straight up as the first search. Thanks, everybody. It's been great reading with you and talking with you. Good night.
Nice. Thank you.
Good night.